What's about to happen in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes is pretty much unprecedented. And I don't know about you, but I personally am feeling like it's going to be quite a bit of stress for me to try and mod 7 brand new characters and fit them into teams before lock-in. That's right, our first era, the era of the anniversary, those units are moving out of the segregated jail area of Era and joining our legacy roster, which means we can use them to their full extent. Let's talk about their application, their use, and maybe some high-level modding ideas for 3v3 in particular, because that's what we're in right now. Let's do this. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of the tribe, and welcome back to another Galaxy of Heroes video with me, your bald boy Scribe. I hope you didn't miss me too much whilst I was away for the weekend watching Wales get their veritable butts handed to them in the rugby. I'm still upset. I'm still upset about it, but I'm apologizing right now because I didn't have any videos out. I was away in London and I had a great time despite the rugby being rather terrible. So, here we have it. Our wonderful characters that have been locked away for months. Or some of them have been locked away for months, others have been locked away for a month or 2 weeks. However, we are now finally going to be able to use Stormtrooper Luke, IG-90, Choda, Xaereth Ventress, Inquisitor Barriss, Darth Vader's dual end, and Maul hate-fueled in the main game. That's right, and we're about to jump into another lock-in for GAC. It's going to lock in on Tuesday evening, tomorrow evening at the time of this recording, and if you want to be able to use them effectively in the game, you are going to have to remod. And it doesn't give us a whole lot of time. So let's talk about the teams that we're going to use these guys in, and then let's talk about high-level modding precepts. Now, I haven't gone into the belly of the beast here and trying to figure out all the best modding, but I think some general high-level understandings about how to take these teams going forward is probably quite useful, or at least a starting point for us to build off of. Let's talk about it. Alright, so coming in at number 1, let's talk about the Stormtrooper Luke team. This one is almost kind of a prescribed team we've got here. I've obviously got stand-ins because we can't actually use Stormtrooper Luke in these sections, at least not until tomorrow, but you get the gist. Stormtrooper Han would be the other one, and Princess Leia will be the final unit. Now, a lot of people don't use these two. That's probably why Stormtrooper Luke was designed to lead them, to try and give them a little bit more viability. Now, I'm not saying this team is going to be great, but I think early game, it is going to be very respectable. If you're looking for someone like Stormtrooper Luke, you are probably looking to mod him with a good amount of defense, max protection, and tenacity to try to make sure that he can't be stunned, and buff immunity and ability blocked and shocked, and all that good business. Make him nice and tanky. Lots of defense is always a good thing over here, okay? When you're looking at Princess Leia, she is the damage dealer of the team. I absolutely love this animation, by the way. This was such a cool little update that CG did to the animations of this character's model. So absolutely, she is our damage dealer, okay? So you're going to be wanting to constantly stealth her when you can, and obviously when she stealths, she's going to more or less take a bonus turn if she was already stealth, and then she's going to do multiple attacks, lots of damage output. Unfortunately, she does not happen to have like the best modifiers on her stats. Even at high relic levels, she's not going to be clapping cheeks. However, there is hope that Stormtrooper Luke is going to address that. Most notably, when we're looking at these percentile chances to attack again, under the new Stormtrooper Luke, those have been adjusted to 100% occurrences. So we should actually be getting lots and lots of damage out of her. Now, if you are looking about how to mod her, go for that offense. As fast as you can, as offensive as you can. Offense sets, try to get crit damage on the triangle, and try to get offense on the cross over here. Ignore this modding. This is not the modding that I'm looking to use in this team. This is just standard default crappy modding. Let's talk about Luke himself then, shall we? So when it comes to Stormtrooper Luke himself, this is only really, from what I can tell, something that you're going to be using in 3v3. From what I understand, you're probably looking at trying to mod this guy for a good amount of speed and a decent amount of potency. You can add extra sort of damage or chunk elsewhere if you want to make him a little bit more survivable, but he can't be defeated provided you've got his Omicron going on and stuff like that. He can't be defeated if there is an ally with protection, so if you've modded your hand for a good amount of defense and a high level of protection, it keeps your Stormtrooper Luke safe. He does also apply quite a bit of debuffs. So we're seeing over here buff disruption, very useful debuff over there. They can't gain buffs while they've got it, and if they get damaged by an attack, they lose 100% turn meter. This is resistible, so you are going to want to have a good source of potency on this guy. I don't believe this team actually gets tenacity down, which would make this a lot easier. We've got bonus turns and stuff like that for our team. Obviously, highly synergistic with Princess Leia and Stormtrooper Han. So absolutely want to be trying to make sure that you keep those guys together. This team only works under that very specific modding setup. Personally, I will mod this guy for speed and potency, just to see what he works out. Do I think it's going to be some massive team? Probably not, but we never know until we see it in action. I do think early game it is going to be quite powerful, and I think because his Omicron over here on leadership, this is a 3v3 Omni, that means it's only going to cost you 10 Omicrons in order to activate. So if that informs your decision making, make it so. Do you know what I'm saying? So only 10 Omnis to get this one active. It seems like it'll be a bit of fun. I'll probably end up throwing it on just to give it a try and see what falls out. Cool. Speed and potency on our Luke then. The next team is going to be the IG-90 squad, and I do feel like this one is going to be having quite a bit more impact when we are looking at a 5v5 comp, because in 3v3 we are losing the likes of either BT1 or 000. Now, based on I know I've got IG-88 here, he's just a stand-in, right? Based on what I can tell by his kit, it feels like in 3s, he probably should actually replace 000. And I know that's a heavy loss because BT1 and 000 have high levels of synergy with one another, right? Especially with the new Datacron set that's coming out, or it's actually out now, that is dependent on them both being active at the same time. I do feel like if you are going to use IG-90 in that 3v3 team, that 000 is probably the one that you drop out for that team to work. Aphra, you're not really going to change the approach over here. She cares about that potency. She cares about being chunky and survivable and taking turns. BT1 is the massive damage dealer of the team. The more levels of relics you have on this guy, the better off he's going to be. You're looking at offense, you're looking at speed, looking at crit damage on the triangle. Nice and easy for him. If we go over and check out IG-90, IG-90 is a really interesting kit. The big benefit that he's bringing over here is he brings a lot of survivability to the team. Loads of survivability. Lots of good synergy with Aphra's summoned unit, the hacked commando droid. For example, if you use this second special over here, you are going to land a marked on the target unit, and then whenever you're dealing damage to marked target units, you are going to be gaining additional stats. Also, whenever IG-90 does a basic or any kind of attack really, a basic or a special, he's always going to force that hacked commando droid to taunt, which is really good. He can, as a bounty hunter, also trigger his contract once Aphra has reached 50 stacks of Siphon. And what that does is it increases his defense and hacked commando's droid defense by 40%, and once again forces that droid to taunt again, grants an additional 50 Siphon to Dr. Aphra until the end of the encounter, and then the rest of the bounty hunter allies are going to have 50% potency and 30% offense. Now, they're not bounty hunters, but he is, which is great. So extra potency for him is good, extra offense is always a good thing. Now, as a support guy, you are going to want him to have a good amount of speed as always. He does counterattack a lot. You're not going to be using his leadership necessarily, thanks to his 100% counterattack chance, but also he's giving the droids a bunch of crit avoidance. So even though he's forcing that taunt onto the hacked commando droid, he's also passing a bunch of crit avoidance, and he's also going to be passing a bunch of additional stacking defense over here, as well as bonus protection, I believe. Yeah, whenever a marked enemy is damaged, all scoundrel allies and hacked commando droid are gaining 5% offense up to 80%, and they recover 5% health. Also over here, if Aphra's in the leadership position, start of the battle, all allies are going to gain 100% bonus protection, and Dr. Aphra is going to stealth for 2 turns. This is a huge benefit for Dr. Aphra. Whenever an ally critically hits an enemy, they're going to gain speed up, and whenever IG-90 resists a debuff, Aphra is going to stack some Siphon. So you could, I think, theoretically maybe mod him for a bit of tenacity, but I don't think that's really massively important. With Aphra over there constantly stripping away potency from the enemy, they shouldn't have a high level of potency, so they should always be failing that tenacity check. A little bit of extra potency on this team is always very good for Aphra. So yeah, lots of speed on him, probably throw a bit of offense on there. If you want to, just try and make him chunky to survive, but a very good kit overall. So squads, and this is where it gets a little bit contentious. The Choda team, I don't know anything about Tarful Ghost, I'll be honest. The only time I ever use Tarful is in Rise of the Empire TB, and I throw him into that special mission and I hit auto and you win and everybody laughs and some people cry and we all have a very good time about it. So I don't know. I feel like Vandor is probably the best third here, but people in the chat, please do let me know otherwise, because I am genuinely not particularly enthused by this team. It doesn't tickle any giblets. It does not butter my biscuit, is all I'm trying to say. That being said, what can we learn about Choda? I don't know, he's got Yoda on his back, bro. His basic is okay. The first special is phenomenal. It's going to be your source of healing. It's passing Foresight, and there's a lot of synergy with Foresight. Also, Wookiee support allies are going to gain Frenzy. Now, I believe the only support there is actually Tarful himself. I believe Tarful is a support. He is indeed. So it is going to give Frenzy to Tarful, which means he will get bonus turn meter and take additional turns when you use specials, which is great. This second special over here, First Awakens, the names, the puns, I appreciate a good pun. Dispel all buffs on all enemies, deal special damage, and distract them for 1 turn. We know that Distracted does stop them from gaining buffs, which is great, and TM, I believe. If Tarful was in the leader slot, Yoda and Chewie are going to assist, dealing 55% less damage, and all Wookiee allies will gain advantage. It's okay. And then finally, we've got the First is my ally. Start of each encounter, Wookiee allies are going to give Foresight. That's good. If all allies were Wookiees at the start of battle, Wookiee Jedi are going to get Jedi Master Training. I mean, he's the only Jedi Wookiee. However, if you do have the Omicron is going to pass Master's Training to everybody. That gives you like 25% defense, offense, protection. Can't remember in total. It's a really good buff, to be honest, Master's Training, and it's going to be doubled for Yoda and Chewie, so that's kind of cool. Whenever an enemy attacks out of turn, that ally is going... whenever an enemy attacks an ally out of turn, your ally is going to gain 5% turn meter. The team is not a fast team, so bonus turn meter is always good. Whenever an ally gains Foresight, they're going to stack offense up to 100% until the end of battle, and 5% turn meter whenever that Foresight expires on an ally. You also inflict a stack of off balance on a random enemy who didn't have it for 1 turn. Now, if you do have the 3v3 Omicron, oh, actually, this is not a 3v3 Omicron, it's an all Omicron. Wookiee allies are going to gain 25 speed and 40% crit damage. It's a decent boost. I like the speed boost. I love the crit damage boost. And provided everybody is a Wookiee, which they probably should be, I can't imagine you're using Mission and Zalbar in this team, all allies will gain Master's Training. Now, we already know that is a really, really good buff. Whenever an ally attacks out of turn, they inflict the target enemy with a stack of damage over time for a turn. So this kind of calls back to like Zalbar's team in Old Republic. Like constantly putting out dots is actually quite useful. Whenever an ally gains Foresight, they also gain Retribution for 2 turns. And whenever Foresight expires, remove 5% turn meter from all enemies. So that turn meter reduction can be resisted, but the Retribution obviously pairs very well with the attacks out of turn, inflicting damage over time. So, you gain Foresight, you get Retribution, you counterattack, you put dots. It's a nice little synergistic cycle over here. The first time each ally defeats an enemy inflicts all enemies with fear for 1 turn, and all allies gain Foresight for 1 turn, which is of course going to give them Retribution. At the start of each of Choda's turns, inflict all enemies with vulnerable. That will guarantee critical hits unless they have crit hit avoidance. Whenever Yoda and Chewie use a special ability, then they have Foresight, they trigger all stacks of damage over time on all enemies and inflict disarm on the target enemy for 2 turns or until Yoda and Chewie is defeated. So that's disarm. It decreases all incoming damage by that unit by 50%. So it's good survivability move over here, which is really, really nice. But it only happens if you use a special ability whilst you have Foresight. Triggering all the dots and stuff like that, that's kind of useful. It's okay. I don't know how good this 3v3 Om is going to be. Maybe it's going to be phenomenal. Maybe it's going to be the Omicron to end all Omicrons. But right now, I have a hard time getting excited about these fur boys. You can let me know in the comment section down below if I'm being absolutely nutters over here, but I'm just not excited about Yoda and Chewie at all. And now we go on the flip-flop, ladies and gentlemen. We go from a team I'm not excited about to a team I'm really excited about. We've got the Boba Fett Sign of Django, Fennec Shand, Asajj Dark Disciple team. This team, I think, is going to be great fun. I've wanted Boba Fett to have some sort of relevance in the current meta for ages. When we had that Datacron not so long back, where it was a Fennec Boba Fett Sign of Django Datacron, that was great. It was a lot of fun. So I'm hopeful that Asajj brings enough relevance to this team in 3v3 and certainly in 5v5 that it's going to be a fun team. So Boba Fett, honestly, you could mod him for speed, but this guy, if you mod him for offense, he does damage. He does a lot of damage, and a lot of the attacks that he does are AoEs that have multiple effects on them. So obviously you want to keep him relatively fast. You do want to make sure that he's not slow as molasses, but focus more on that physical damage output, okay? Yes, you do want to try and make sure you got a crit damage triangle on him. I've got him at 273 speed here with 9k offense, 7k. This is not a good mod set. This is definitely a throwaway set because I don't use this guy very often. Similarly to Fennec only really cares about damage output. Ignore these mods. I don't use her 3v3, so I demod her completely, basically. But you do want to have the same sort of approach as Boba Fett Sign of Django. Okay, so it's all about that damage output. Yes, get that crit damage on the triangle, get boatloads of offense on there, and probably at least look to have her around 270 speed, and that will be all groovy. Now, looking at Asajj herself, she is the engine of the team, right? So, let's look at her moves in succession. Swift Strike, deal physical damage to the target enemy. If it was debuffed, attack again. Already great damage synergy over here. During Asajj Ventress's turn, gain 7% turn meter and inflict tenacity down on the target enemy for 1 turn. Otherwise, gain 12% turn meter and retaliate for 1 turn. Really good basic, truth be told. Then she's got that Come Back to Me special. This one is the one that's going to be putting out Disciple. Deal physical damage to all enemies and grant the target ally protection up for 1 turn. Inflict armor shred on the target enemy until the end of the encounter. Asajj Ventress and the target bounty hunter ally gain defense penetration up for 2 turns. This is going to be great for increasing the damage output on the team. The first time this ability is used on a non-Galactic Legend bounty hunter ally, grant them Disciple till the end of battle, and Ventress gains Retribution for 2 turns. Disciple gives 15 speed and it makes you immune to ability block. Now, when you think about who to apply Disciple on, you would normally think I'll probably put it on Fennec for the massive damage outburst or Boba Fett Sign of Django. However, with her Omicron, I believe it applies it to everybody. So everybody gets it and you don't have to worry about it. Know Your Place, her second special, this is really cool as well. Deal physical damage to the enemy and inflict vulnerable on them for 2 turns. That's the whole, guaranteed crits. And then you stun them for 1 turn. If there is an active ally with Disciple, stun them for 2 turns instead. Now, because she's got a stun, you'd think maybe a bit of potency might be important, but she does apply tenacity down on a basic, so you might not have to worry about that. Dispel all debuffs on Asajj Ventress and all allies with Disciple, and they gain 10% crit damage, stacking to a maximum of 100% until the end of the encounter for each debuff dispelled this way. So it's a really quick way of increasing crit damage by 100%. And then you call all allies with Disciple to assist. That's going to be great in 5s. This is going to be a mass assist. In 5v5 GAC with the Omicron, it is going to be a mass assist. It's going to ramp up your crit damage on the whole team. Really, really cool. We're not going to look at the leadership because we're not going to be using that, but train under me. Asajj Ventress, Dark Disciple, has 75% max health and max protection as well as 20% offense. At the start of battle, if Boba Fett is in the leadership slot, and that's Sign of Django, not any Boba Fett, and there are no tank allies, Bounty Hunter allies gain bonus protection of 300% until the end of the encounter. So this is mostly for 3v3. In 3v3, you've got no real tank for this team. So them giving you 300% bonus protection is just a huge, huge buffer of survivability for this team right out the gate. It's going to be a great 3v3 team, I think. Whenever an ally with Disciple is damaged, Ventress is going to stack up 10% offense up to a 50% until the next time she uses her basic ability on her turn. Whenever Ventress starts her turn, allies with Disciple gain 10% turn meter, which means you probably want her to be the fastest on the team. Whenever an ally with Disciple starts their turn, inflict evasion down on all enemies for 1 turn, which can't be resisted, and Ventress gains 10% turn meter. Lots of turn meter gaining on this. Like in 5s, she's going to be gaining 10% turn meter every single time one of your ally takes a turn. That's really good. Whenever an ally with Disciple uses a special ability, inflict the target enemy with protection disruption for 1 turn, which can't be evaded, and Ventress assists. Really, really good. Whenever an ally with Disciple uses their special ability on their turn 4 times in a row, they gain 100% offense until the end of the encounter, and their next ability on their turn inflicts vulnerable on the target enemy. So this really pays very well with Boba Fett Sign of Django because he's able to spam 4 specials in a row. In fact, he can spam a lot more than that. Okay. So, apologies, which can't be dispelled, evaded, or resisted until the end of the encounter, which is great. I mean, that's kind of wild. Inflict vulnerable on the target enemy for the rest of the encounter. That's really good. Whenever Ventress uses an ability on her turn, allies with Disciple assist. So any ability, everybody's going to assist. It's great. Her GAC Omicron over here. All Bounty Hunter allies are going to gain 50% max health and 50% potency. All other non-Galactic Legend and non-Tank Bounty Hunter allies gain Disciple until the end of battle, and whenever Asajj Ventress or allies with Disciple are dazed, they're going to dispel it and gain 50% turn meter. I already feel like this is designed to counter Lord Vader again. Do you think this is designed to kill Lord Vader again? Because that's the one of the things that was really crushing this team was like getting dazed and you can't assist and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, we'll do that and gain turn meter. I know we'll have dots at the start of battle and maybe that'll interfere with things, but still. Whenever Ventress gains bonus turn meter, she gains 5% stacking offense up to a maximum of 150% until the end of the encounter. Ventress and all allies with Disciple are immune to turn meter reduction. Whenever enemies attack out of turn, allies with Disciple and Asajj Ventress are going to recover 5% health and protection. So this is a great Omicron in my opinion. I'm really looking forward to trying this one out. Absolutely. So Asajj, I would go for a really fast offense set on this girl. Probably speed set over offense, so prioritize your speed high as possible because the more turns that she's taking, the better off she's going to be. She's always calling assist. She's doing cleansing, mass assists. She's putting out armor shreds. She's making the team more survivable. Have her super fast with a side of offense, I think is going to be the way to go. I might be wrong on this. Who knows? I'm going to find out soon. Really looking forward to this team. Next team up is our new Inquisitorious team, and obviously I'm using OG Barriss here as a stand-in. She's designed to go with Second Sister and Ninth Sister, which is kind of good because these are the Inquisitors that we don't use quite so often anymore. Second Sister in particular, she is a damage dealer. You're probably going to want to be having this girl with high crit damage, crit chance pretty decent, lots of offense output. I've got her at Relic 7 at the moment. I don't really want to be taking her any higher because we need a lot of high relics on things at the moment. But yeah, I would probably mod her. Decent speed, lots of offense. Ninth Sister, it's all about that max health, all about that bulk. Try and get some tenacity on there and just rock that max health as high as possible, especially with this Datacron set that we've got currently. She has a Datacron right now that is absolutely wild, and I believe it's only on the level 3. I haven't even started working on these, but I believe, oh no, it's an FTC that's coming out. Ignore me. It's an FTC that's coming out in 2 weeks' time. I think I've already done a video on those, but the FTC that she has is absolutely insane. So definitely want to be doing that. So Inquisitor Barriss then. What are we looking at? She is the healer of the team. You do want to be taking a lot of turns with her. Enfeebled Strike, she does assist quite a bit as well. Deal special damage to the target enemy and inflict them with a stack of Purge, maximum 6 until the end of the encounter. Unaligned Force user allies are going to recover 5% health and protection every time she does a basic. Then she's going to gain 5% or 5 Siphon, which can't be dispelled until the end of the encounter, which is nice. Let's look at her leadership first and foremost so we have an understanding of what's going on. Inquisitorious allies are going to gain 20% max health at the start of their and at the start of their turns, they recover 8% health based on her max health. So having her have a lot of base max health, this kind of ties into her OG lead, similar sort of thing. The more max health that you have on Barriss, the more survivable the team becomes. Whenever an enemy gains a stack of Purge, Inquisitorious allies gain 3 heal over time for 2 turns, which of course makes them more survivable. Whenever Purge is resisted by the enemy or dispelled on them, Inquisitorious allies are going to gain 10% offense stacking for 1 turn. She's got a 3v3 leadership in Omicron over here. Inquisitorious allies are going to gain 30% crit chance and 50% crit damage. That is a big jump in crit damage. Whenever an Inquisitorious ally critically hits an enemy, that enemy gains a stack of Purge, which can't be resisted until the end of the encounter. Allied Second Sister is immune to Daze and Stun, and whenever the Inquisitor Barriss uses an ability, Second Sister assists. This will crit hit if able to. So 50% crit damage, Second Sister will assist on every single move that Barriss does. Guaranteed crits. Lots of good synergy there. Lots of good synergy. It being a 3v3 army, half price. If you want to use it, crack on. Again, I'll probably apply it just to get an idea of what it feels like. I can feed back after this round of 3v3. Force Corruptor, her first special. Dispel all buffs and deal special damage to all enemies. Inflict buff immunity for 2 turns on the target enemy and siphon critical damage from them. So when you can, what you want to be able to do is to use this ability on a unit that is a damage dealer on the enemy team. ramping up your critical damage and stealing theirs. If you don't know how Siphon works, it's very interesting. You will gain stacks of Siphon on your target character. You can see this on characters like Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, right? It'll be a number above their head. When you use an ability that siphons, it will take that percentile to calculate how much percentile you will be siphoning. So if you've got 10 stack of siphon, that means when you use an ability, you are going to siphon 10% of the enemy's mastery for a particular stat, right? Well, I mean, not mastery, Slacker does mastery. She's siphoning crit damage, right? So if she's got 10 stacks, when she uses this ability, the target enemy will lose 10% crit damage, and you will subsequently gain 10% crit damage. Okay, if the target enemy had under 6 stacks, had 6 stacks of purge, buff immunity can't be resisted, and lower the cooldown of Flicker of Light by 1, so that's her heal. Siphoning critical damage, gain a percentage of critical damage equal to this unit's siphon until the end of the encounter, and the target loses that much critical damage. Stacking excludes raid bosses and galactic legends. So just to be absolutely clear, if you use this and she has 10 stacks of siphon, the enemy will lose 10%, 10% basically, crit damage, and you will gain 10% crit damage. If it is a galactic legend or a raid boss, not that she can be used versus raids right now, they will not lose that crit damage. However, you will still gain 10% crit damage. I know the idea is that you drain it away from them, but they are two completely independent calculations. She will always gain that 10% based on her siphon stacks, right? Even if the enemy is immune to it, okay? Even if the attack misses, it should still increase your siphon, I believe. Okay, so don't worry if they're a galactic legend and there's no other units, you still want to be siphoning, because you're still going to be gaining your own crit damage, right? And the importance of that comes in with this second special, okay? Flicker of the Light. Dispel all debuffs on all unaligned Force user allies, and they have their current health percentages equalized. All unaligned Force user allies recover 10% health and protection. So the equalization happens first, so if your tank is really, really low, but your Barriss is really, really high, you'll meet in the middle, and then you'll recover 10% health and protection. You then recover an additional 5% health and protection for each stack of purge that has been consumed by Inquisitorious allies or resisted by enemies in this battle, up to a maximum of 60. So once the battle's raged on, you're going to be healing a lot. 65% health and protection on top of the equalization, as well as the extra 10%. This is more or less going to be a full heal. It's more or less going to be a full heal, because if you take the 10% here, that's 15, plus an additional 60, that's 75% max health and protection recovery. It's kind of a lot. Inquisitor Barriss then grants 20% of her crit damage stacking to all Inquisitorious attackers until the end of battle. So this over here is the part that's going to ramp this team. This is a stall out team, which will eventually turn into Second Sister just deleting units one at a time. Okay? Because as you are gaining more and more stacks of Siphon, and you are then siphoning that crit damage from the enemy, increasing Inquisitor Barriss's stacks of Siphon and total crit damage, she is then, when she uses this heal, going to share that crit damage with her Inquisitorious attacker allies, or Second Sister in this case, right? So if you've got 200% crit damage on your Inquisitor Barriss, she's going to share 40% crit damage, okay? Every time she uses this. And don't forget, using this Force Connector, if the enemy has got 6 stacks of Purge, she's going to decrease the cooldown on Flicker of Light by 1 to make it a little bit easier to cycle through and use this multiple times. Keep sharing that crit damage, and it doesn't have a cap. It's just going to keep on rising. It's really cool. So we've already read through the leadership. We're already happy with that. Her first unique over here is Reflexive Mercy. Allied and enemy units cannot be revived. This is useful, even if it's a bit of a double-edged sword, very useful nonetheless. Whenever an Inquisitorious ally is critically hit, they are going to recover 10% health and protection, and that enemy gains a stack of Purge until the end of the encounter. This can be resisted, so, potency check comes into play there, but if they do resist it, it's going to make the heal of Flicker of the Light a little bit more powerful as well. Lots of recovery on this team. Lots of recovery. Whilst Ninth Sister is taunting, allied Second Sister and Inquisitor Barriss have 200% defense and tenacity, and allied Inquisitor Barriss is immune to daze and stun. It's really, really powerful. Whenever an enemy has any number of buffs dispelled, Inquisitor Barriss gains 10% turn meter. Really, really nice. Patience then. At the start of battle, if all allies, minimum of 3, are Inquisitorious, this character gains 20% max health, max protection, and potency. All very, very useful over things over here. If she's gaining 20% max health, that's going to play into her leadership, where allies are going to be recovering 8% of their max health, whenever they are critically hit, I want to say. So this is a good little combination over here. Whenever another ally is critically hit by an enemy, this character has a 20% chance to gain 100% turn meter, limited once per turn. Very, very nice. If she's constantly taking turns, siphoning mastery all the time, sharing that mastery, healing up, all really good stuff. Whenever an Inquisitorious ally damages an enemy with Purge, this character assists. The very useful thing about this is, of course, is when she uses her basic, she raises her stacks of Siphon, which means more access to building up that crit damage quicker, and then sharing it to your attacker ally and second sister, okay? Whenever Purge is consumed or dispelled on the enemy, this character gains 3% turn meter. So lots and lots of things to generate turn meter on this character. Really, really cool unit. I'm really looking forward to Barriss, I'll be honest. I think she's going to be fun. I don't think she's going to be top tier, but it's nice to see a lifter for older units that don't see quite as much use. So when it comes to modding on this girl, stack as much health as you possibly can. You want loads and loads of health on this person, okay? Because here we are, Inquisitorious allies gain 20% max health. At the start of each of their turns, they're going to recover 8% health based on her max health. So the higher you pump her health, the more they're going to heal. If you've got 100,000 health, they're going to heal 8,000 health per turn. That's just going to get higher and higher and higher, right? If you can keep them alive, she's eventually going to win the war through attrition, okay? So definitely, as fast as you can with lots and lots of health sets, pump that health as much as you can, okay? That's how I feel like it's going to go for Inquisitor Barriss. Wonderful. Next up, another cool team. We've got Vader with, well, new Vader under EP Mara Jade. I definitely think it's going to be EP Mara Jade, Darth Vader's Duel's End. It might be somebody else. Palpatine and Mara Jade are not going to be changing. You want Palpatine, in my opinion, I like to have this guy to be quite fast, relatively potent, and try to focus on protection more than health. Okay, because under his Crackling Doom unique over here, he is going to be gaining a big chunk of additional max protection. This is with the Zeta, of course. And whenever he inflicts shock, he's going to be generating even more max protection. You don't necessarily need a good amount of potency on this guy. Mara Jade's going to be passing Tenacity down. That Tenacity down is going to more or less guarantee that any debuff that you put out is going to land, it's going to stick. So just try to have him relatively fast, good amount of protection, and just go from there. You don't need to worry about damage or anything like that on him or potency. Mara Jade, you want her two things, fast, and you do want her potent, okay? I know this sounds counterintuitive, because this first special over here, it lands a stun and a vulnerable. It then applies special damage to all enemies and gives everybody Tenacity down. The reason I say have some potency on this girl is that when it checks to do this stun, that occurs before she has applied Tenacity down. And sometimes the matches in which you take in this team, right, depends on an opening turn stun. So, for example, Wampa. If you're going up against Wampa with an Omicron, defensively speaking, if you had this team on defense, right, if your Mara Jade had absolutely no potency, she wouldn't stun the Wampa, and the Wampa would then generally build up a whole bunch of tenacity over time, even though you're going to have it tenacity down on the enemy and stuff like that, and it will eventually kill you, right? However, if you land that stun on that very first move, oftentimes it is the game changer between winning and losing a battle. So I'm not saying exclusively focus on potency, but I am saying try to get her as fast as possible. This is not a great mod set, truth be told, and try to give her a decent amount of potency. She does get more from Palpatine's lead as well. I think it's 30%, 25%, 30%, something like that. So I would say try to get her over 330, over 350, over higher if you can. Really depends on how good your mods are. Potency should be a secondary set to worry about. After that, you can go for like a crit damage triangle over here to get some good damage. She will be taking multiple turns. But now that we've got Vader in the team, Vader is really going to be the one bringing the pain. So let's look at Darth Vader's Duel's End then and have an idea about what he's going to do. His basic, then you will die. Deal physical damage to the target enemy during Darth Vader's turn, ability block them and inflict evasion down for 2 turns. If the target enemy is dazed, shocked or stunned, reduce the cooldowns on Vader by 1 and he gains 100% offense for 1 turn. Now, we are definitely going to be getting shocked and we're going to be getting stunned on this team over here. thanks to Palpatine, thanks to Mara Jade, even thanks to, and Daze thanks to her second special as well. Lots of cooldown manipulation, lots of bonus offense. Because of all that offense, I think it's not going to come as a massive surprise that you're going to want to have a lot of offense on this guy. First special, your weakness still remains. Deal physical damage to the target enemy twice and call the strongest other attacker ally to assist. In 3v3, I don't believe you're going to have any other attack. Oh no. Yeah, no, Mara Jade is an attacker. I thought she was support for a minute there. So Mara Jade is going to attack her on a basic, which is going to generate more TM. If the target enemy is a Galactic Republic, Inquisitorius, or Jedi, Darth Vader Duel's End also assists. So that's kind of useful against certain teams. This ability will always crit if possible. It's good damage on this. It's only a cooldown of 3 as well. This is where we start to have some fun. He is a double Omicron team. Dispel all buffs on all enemies and deal physical damage to them, dealing 50% more damage for each debuffed enemy. So this is obviously going to be a bit more powerful in 5v5. It's called You Will Always Lose. If the enemy is shocked or stunned, they take another instance of damage. Then inflict all enemies with speed down for 2 turns, which can't be dispelled, evaded, or prevented, and they lose 100% accuracy for 1 turn, which can't be evaded. This is great. It basically almost guarantees that they're going to miss their next attack, unless their attacks can't be missed in general. Enemies are then inflicted with buff immunity for 2 turns. Once again, there is going to be a potency check here, but you should have tenacity down almost all the time. This ability cannot be resisted. Okay, it doesn't matter then. Can't be resisted. When in Grand Arena, if Palpatine is in the leader slot, fracture the target enemy and another random enemy until the start of Darth Vader Duel's End's next turn, or until he is defeated, which can't be copied, dispelled, or evaded. Vader cannot gain bonus turn meter this turn. This is really cool. Having a 2 character fracture, especially in 3v3, you've just disabled 66% of the team. You know, use this turn 1, boom, 2 people are immediately fractured and they can't do anything. Really cool. Do like this. Then you've got his unique, I Am What Remains. At the start of battle, Darth Vader Duel's End loses 51% health and is inflicted with burning until the end of battle, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. Vader can't be defeated by this burning. He is immune to other burning effects and takes reduced damage from percentile health effects. All really good stuff, apart from the fact that you start at 50% health, or 49%. If there are no Galactic Legends at the start of battle, whenever Vader takes burning damage, all Empire allies are going to gain 20% offense, stacking to a maximum of 300% until the end of battle, and 10% turn meter. This is the one thing that Palpatine teams were missing, was turn meter generation. This effect persists through defeat. If Vader ends his turn with 25% or more health, all Empire allies gain potency up for 1 turn. If Vader ends his turn with 75% or less health, all Empire allies gain defense up for 1 turn. At the start of battle, if Emperor Palpatine is in the leader slot, Vader gains hatred until he's defeated, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented, and assists the Emperor whenever Emperor Palpatine uses a special ability during his turn, and whenever Emperor Palpatine assists during another ally's turn. So I believe Emperor Palpatine assists when Mara Jade uses an ability, so now when Mara Jade uses an ability, Vader is also going to assist, which is really, really cool. Hatred is a guaranteed revive. Oh, it's not a guaranteed revive, it's a revive. If there's a revive prevention mechanic like gas leadership or something like that on the enemy team, you're not going to get that revive, but it's going to be baked in from the get-go over here, which is really, really cool. If Vader is revived whilst Palpatine is in the active leader slot, Vader gains hatred until the end of the turn, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. It's going to be annoying to take care of him, because you're going to want to kill Palpatine first, obviously. Because if you kill Palpatine first when you defeat Vader, then Vader can't revive again. Here's the other side of his GAC Omicrons. At the start of battle, if there are no Galactic Legends and Palpatine is the allied leader slot, all Empire allies gain hatred until they are defeated, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. It also increases your damage output by, I believe, 30%, something like that. Whenever an Empire tank loses Taunt, they are marked for 2 turns, which can't be copied, dispelled, or resisted, and recover 30% max health and protection. This is kind of like Lord Vader's leadership, where tanks will taunt after they lose their they'll get marked after they lose their taunt. Vader gains full speed, stacking to a maximum of 80, until the end of battle whenever an Empire ally targets a debuffed enemy with an ability, takes damage from an enemy ability while debuffed, or scores a critical hit. It is a pretty good Omicron, more focused, I believe, in the 5v5 game, but this is still very, very good. Mass hatred, just increases your damage output, gives you a level of survivability, which is going to be a little bit annoying, I feel, because Vader is going to get hatred anyway, and if Palpatine's alive, he's going to regain it for one turn, so it's kind of like, it just adds a layer of complexity to the team. It's kind of cool. Yeah, quite like this one. It's a shame there's so much anti-GL clauses in this. Little bit of a shame. And finally, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. At the start of each encounter, whenever he takes burning damage or whenever he uses an ability. That's any ability, okay? Darth Vader duel's end gains 1 stack of vengeance until the end of battle or until he is defeated. When Vader loses 15 stacks of vengeance or more, he gains 2 additional bonus turns, and the next time he damages an enemy, the target enemy is death marked until the end of Vader's bonus turns or Vader is defeated. This is really, really cool. Getting death mark on here with the stacks of vengeance and stuff like that. 2 bonus turns is kind of cool. It's kind of like Merciless Massacre, I guess. I like it, yeah. Vader can ignore taunt effects during this turn, so it's going to be important for you to target a key unit for this death mark. Whenever Vader uses a special ability, the target enemy is inflicted with a stack of damage over time for 1 turn, which can't be evaded. This ability inflicts an additional stack if the target enemy is Galactic Republic, Inquisitorius, or Jedi, and another stack if it is Anakin Skywalker, because he did kill Anakin Skywalker. At the start of battle, if there is an enemy, Anakin Skywalker, they are inflicted with Demoralized for the rest of battle, which can't be copied, dispelled, or evaded, prevented, or resisted. And if they are in the enemy leader slot, all Empire allies are immune to daze. Wow. For the rest of battle, and Vader can't be targeted anywhere. Targeted while there is another Empire ally. This is kind of wild. This is kind of wild. Lots going on there, particularly against Jedi Anakin. You're not going to see that too often, which is a shame, but it is what it is. Finally, if all allies are Empire at the start of battle, Vader gains 50% crit damage, is immune to fear, and turn meter reduction. That's big. So when it comes to modding for this guy, it's definitely going to have to be lots and lots of damage. Focus on offense rather than speed. He does gain quite a lot of bonus turns, that sort of thing. But mostly you want to try and crank up that damage as high as possible. Get a crit damage on the triangle, offense set or crit damage set, and as fast as you can outside of that, right? I'm really looking forward to that fracture. That 2-turn fracture is going to stall out the enemy team. I think with the level of control that you've got on a Palpatine team anyway, with the stuns, the turn meter generation, the fractures, he's going to be ramping up a lot of damage. Once he gets to that 15 stacks of vengeance over there, he's going to take the double bonus turn, you ignore the taunt, you land the death mark on a key unit, and then they're going to fall. Going to fall really easily. And our last team of the day is going to be our Maul team, obviously using OG Maul, or Conquest Maul rather, over here in this squad temporarily. He is obviously designed to be run under the Stranger. Stranger with Starkiller. Don't be one of those guys that tries to split your Starkiller from your Stranger because you're like, oh, I want to try and mix things up. I want to try and save my Starkiller for another team. Don't. Just don't do it. Like, you just end up ruining your Stranger team. Well, I say ruining. You could probably take it offensively, but if you're setting it defensively, I would highly recommend that you keep Starkiller with the Stranger and Maul, okay? So standard modding or whatever you like for Stranger. I like to have a good chunk of health on this guy and some decent speed on him, and then the rest can go into offense if you find some spots. Starkiller, similar sort of modding. You want good amount of speed, you want a good amount of health, and the rest is damage. Nothing too special here. You're going to be hitting ultimate quite easily on Starkiller, pulling down that Star Destroyer. That damage is based on his max health. With the current massively overpowered Datacrons that we've got from the previous set, you can pump that health super high and just decimate people straight away, okay? Make sure you do keep them at a relatively good speed. So let's talk then about Maul Hate Fueled. Now this one is obviously only going to really apply to those people that have gone out there and wailed heavily to get a good Maul unlocked. Most people won't have this. I don't know how viable it will be at like 5-star. We could get to Relic 5, I want to say. But with the new Focus Datacron coming out, it's probably worth a shot anyway. So let's talk about it. Fractured Fury, the basic of Maul. Deal physical damage to the target enemy, inflict a stack of bleed, 6 stacks to the maximum, which can't be dispelled, resisted until the end of the encounter. Gain a stack of Edge of Madness, maximum 100 stacks until the end of the encounter, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. Once per encounter during his turn, Maul inflicts Fracture on the target enemy until each of his allies has taken a turn, or until he is defeated which cannot be copied, dispelled, evaded, or resisted. So a nice fracture one time on a basic. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. That does tie in to Stranger, I believe. Let's just jump over here on Stranger. I believe, well, yeah, for the basic, if you think about it this way, Maul's basic applying a fracture to the target enemy, it sets your speed to 0. Fracture sets speed to 0, which means that when you go to use Pieces of Lie with Stranger, if he uses a basic on that fractured character, he's going to have 250 more speed than them, provided he has at least 250 speed, which he will, because even with just his base speed as well as Starkiller's Omicron, that's giving 70 speed minimum, you're definitely going to have 250 more speed than him, okay? So there's a nice bit of synergy there. If you fracture an enemy, booyah, you use a basic, it's going to insta-kill that enemy. That immediately in a 3v3 scenario just kind of gives you a massive advantage, right? So don't forget that. Now, it also ties into his leadership in the GAC Omicron over here. Where is it? Over here, yeah. Whenever an enemy is fractured, all enemies lose 100% turn meter, which can't be resisted. This is basically going to guarantee you that one basic. So if you're taking this on offense, if your Maul happens, Hatred-fueled Maul is your fastest unit, you just do a basic on him, he's going to fracture a target enemy, then all the enemies are going to lose 100% turn meter, which they can't resist, so it's only units that are ignorant to it, like Darth Vader, for example. It's just going to immediately give you a chance to take out one unit before the enemy can do anything. Now, this won't work defensively necessarily, because I'm relatively certain that on defense, your Maul is not going to start off with a basic. He's probably going to go specials. All the same, if Maul survives, it's going to be good. Okay, let's get back to Maul's kit himself. Next up, we have got Relentless Malice. Deal physical damage to the target enemy 4 times and inflict a stack of bleed, maximum of 6, which can't be dispelled or resisted until the end of the encounter. If the target already has max stacks of bleed, trigger their damage, which is good. If Maul has 30 or more stacks of Edge of Madness, reduce the cooldown of Howl of the Broken, that's his second special, by 1. If Maul has 60 or more stacks of Edge of Madness, he deals an additional instance of true damage to the target health equal to 30% of his max health. So, good little combo there. That kind of ties into how we want to mod this guy. Whilst in Territory War Omicron's over here, deal physical damage an additional 4 times. Four times. Inflict an additional 5 stacks of bleed, maximum 6, which can't be dispelled or resisted until the end of the encounter. If he has 30 or more stacks of Edge of Madness, reset the cooldown of Howl of the Broken instead. So he's just going to be able to, you know, first special, second special, back to back over there. Really, really cool. Howl of the Broken then. Deal physical damage, daze, and inflict heal immunity for 2 turns on all enemies. It's a nice lot of debuffs that. Call all Darkside attacker allies to assist, which is going to be both Starkiller and it's going to be Stranger, which is a cool combo. Maul gains crit damage up and offense up for 2 turns. If he has 50 or more stacks of Edge of Madness, inflict fear on all enemies for 1 turn, which can't be copied, dispelled, or resisted. So already this move has just got so many layers to it, right? Remove 60% turn meter from all enemies and all Darkside attacker allies gain 60% turn meter. This is just kind of all kinds of crazy all around, realistically speaking. Like, just being able to strip away 60% turn meter and gain 60% turn meter for your entire team, that's a huge opener. Whilst in Territory Wars, if the target enemy is inflicted with bleed, inflict a stack of bleed, again, which can't be dispelled or resisted, and on all enemies until the end of the encounter. Increase the cooldowns of the target enemy by 1, which can't be resisted. Quite nice, quite nice. I wouldn't say it's like a game changer, but it's a nice little addition. Next up, we've got Hatred Sustains. Whenever Maul takes damage, he gains 3 stacks of Edge of Madness until the end of the encounter, can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented, and he has a 5% chance to gain 75% turn meter. Maul can't be instantly defeated. Adds a huge level of survivability, a huge layer of technicality to this team that was really missing for the Stranger's comp, right? While Maul is at certain health thresholds, he gains cumulative effects. Web of Descent at 75% health or less. He has 50% offense, but he can't recover above 75. At 50% health, he gains an additional 25 speed. When he takes damage, he instead has a 10% chance to gain 75% turn meter, but he can't recover over 50% health. Finally, Web of Descent 3. He has 2,200% defense and 100% offense. It's kind of wild, right? Like that's a huge bump in survivability and in offense. When Maul hits this threshold, he gains bonus protection of 100%, which is based on your max health, for 2 turns, and he takes a bonus turn, which can't takes a bonus turn, and he cannot recover his health above 25%. So he's stuck at certain thresholds, which does kind of suck, I'll be honest, but he gains amazing benefits whilst doing that, right? Okay, in Territory Wars at the start of battle, Maul gains 30% max health in offense and 100 stacks of Edge of Madness until the end of the encounter, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. That one Omicron section there is probably the best Omicron in his kit. Gaining max health and offense ties into his abilities quite well. 100 stacks of Edge of Madness immediately. He caps out his Madness stacks, immediately gives him the benefits from his basics and his specials. Really, really good. Whenever Maul is damaged, he instead has a 25% chance to gain 100% turn meter. That's just nasty, really. It's just nasty. Okay, always remember, I am Fear. At the start of battle, Maul gains 25% max health for each other Darkside ally and 25% offense for each other non-Darkside ally. Hatred and 5 stacks of Anguish until the end of battle. Hatred obviously gives them that revive. 5 stacks of Anguish is, just good business, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. He loses all protection and gains that much max health, and he takes reduced damage from percentile health effects. If there is an enemy Kenobi, Maul gains 20 stacks of Edge of Madness until the end of the encounter. During Maul's first turn each encounter, he ignores taunt effects, which is really nice to tie into, oh, I want to choose to fracture a certain unit. Let's go ahead and fracture that. So say, I don't know, going up against JMK Cat. Ignore taunt, fracture Cat. Like, it's kind of a useful start, right? Maul's attacks can't be evaded or countered, and he is immune to ability block, fear, and redeemed, which is an effect that he puts out, right? If there are no allied galactic legends at the start of battle, until the first time Maul is defeated, enemies defeated by Darkside units cannot be revived. If there is at least one other active ally at the start of each character's turn, mark the healthiest unaligned Force user ally, which can't be dispelled or resisted. They gain bonus protection of 30% until the end of that turn. This is most likely going to just mark Maul. He's got a lot of health, and he's going to be stacking a lot of it, right? So that's kind of useful. Mark the healthiest unaligned Force user ally. It can't be dispelled or resisted, and they gain bonus protection. Bonus protection is obviously based on max health as well. Okay, large character. You can't have a summoned unit next to him. So I really like the idea with this guy of being able to just stack him up with health. Like loads of health and loads of offense. You can look to have a whole boatload of base speed on this guy. You can look to try and make him the fastest in your team so that he gets that basic out the gate and strips stuff back. And there is probably an element of strategy to that. Probably gives you a massive advantage in 3s, truth be told. Having your Maul go first, your basic, Stranger then pulls back all of that turn meter off the enemy team. Stranger will eventually take a turn and he can basic the character that is fractured. And you've basically taken out one unit before the enemy can do anything. That's really, really cool, right? I definitely think that the focus should be, though, on max health and on speed. Now, he does have a higher base protection, okay? Because he's got a higher base protection, when you're looking at the primaries to give this guy, you definitely want to be giving him protection primaries rather than health primaries, okay? Because he's going to strip all of that protection and he's going to give it to his max health. And the way that this is going to work is that because protection gives 24% protection instead of the 16% from max health, because he's got a bigger base protection pool than he does max health, it's just going to compound. So you're going to get 24% of a higher base stat instead of 16%, which is the health primary, of a lower base stat. So try and pump that max health as high as possible, yes, but when it comes to primaries on your circles, maybe on your cross, maybe on your triangle, if you're going for loads and loads of bulk and survivability, use protection primaries up here rather than having health, just because it's going to result in a more survivable unit. It's going to result in more effective max health, right? Now, do you want to try and focus instead on offense? I'm not sure, truth be told. He is going to do a lot of damage. There's no denying that. However, I think there's so much tech within the Stranger team that you don't really have to worry about too much damage. You've already got Starkiller and Stranger, both of whom have got great amounts of damage output, and they've both got great amount of tech control and resistances, immunities, bonus turns, all that sort of good business. So I think there's room for both. I would probably go for, let's look into the survivability option. If you can get him fast enough to outpace the others to start that basic, that's probably worth doing, right? Just don't make him molasses slow. That's the only thing I would say. Don't make him molasses slow. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you do not have Stranger, in your roster, the one place that I would probably throw Maul in is into a Seer Starkiller Malicos team. That's still going to be very, very powerful, okay? So you could have Seer Malicos Maul, or you could have Seer Starkiller Maul, and that team's still going to be really good in 3v3. Similarly, in 5v5, when we get to that point, if you don't have Stranger, I would probably be throwing Maul under Seer, just to try and get some level of benefit out of him. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have spoken now for far too long, but I would like to know your thoughts. What teams in particular are you looking forward to? How are you going to mod them? And do you disagree with any of my takes? I mean, I'm not the arbiter of truth in this game. Absolutely not. I've probably made a bunch of mistakes there, but I've had a fun time doing it, and I can't wait to try out some of these teams. Like Barriss, definitely. Vader, definitely. Maul, definitely. Asajj, definitely. Choda, I could do without. Whatever, I'm not that fussed by Choda. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but hey, who knows? Maybe it's an amazing one. Maybe it's the best team of the lot. Y'all can tell me. Give the video a like before you go, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the very next video. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.